So now here we are in a fresh Dremio account in the UI. Okay, so bottom line is you now have your trial environment. So you have again 30 days or up to $400 credits. You can always see the status of this up here in the upper right corner. Now it says 29 days, but that's because it rounds down. So right now you're at like 29.9 days left on your trial. And then here you have $400 left of Dremio credits. Now these credits are going to be used generally in three ways. One, whenever you're running Dremio Compute to run queries. One, and again, you will talk more about the compute in a separate video where I'll talk about how engines work. Two, storage. So I'm going to get into the catalog in a moment. We'll talk about the storage piece. And then three, using the AI agent. So, for like every million tokens, you're probably like paying like $6 or something. Okay, so as you use AI tokens, Dremio Compute for executing queries, and Dremio Storage in a Dremio catalog where Dremio manages the storage, which is not an obligation. You can have your own storage brought to the table. In that case, you would not have to worry about the storage expense. Then those things would draw down your credits. And then if you decided that you wanted to continue using Dremio, you would just put down your credit card, and then you would just pay as you go. So you pay for whatever usage of Dremio you make going forward. Okay. So with that said, let's show you a couple different things. So basically, first thing it is, you go here, you might want to add data. Okay, and there's going to be generally two ways you can add data. You can either upload a file. So if you want to upload a CSV, a JSON, a Parquet file, you can, and that data will actually be converted into an iceberg table into the project's iceberg catalog. Okay, again, I'm going to spend a moment talking about that specifically. Now, while every Dremio project has a built-in catalog that you can use as your lakehouse catalog, you can also bring external catalogs. So if you have external catalogs like AWS Glue or Snowflake's Open Catalog, or you want to connect a Dremio catalog from another Dremio project, or a Unity catalog, or any iceberg catalog that applies the iceberg REST catalog specification, you can bring them in there. But you can also bring other data other than just iceberg tables. You can, scan like Parquet, JSON, CSV datasets in your object storage. Also, if you have other unstructured data in your object storage, you can access it by making this connection. So we're later on I'll talk about AI functions, and those AI functions can be used to use your photos or your PDF documents as sources of information to create output for your structured data tables. So imagine that you have a table of claims. You want to create like a table of claims, but all your claims are PDFs from like hand-filled forms. Dremio has AI functions you can use to turn those PDF forms into a row in a structured table. Again, we'll cover that in a separate video. We can also cover other traditional sources like data warehouses and databases. So like Amazon Redshift, if you want to connect other external Dremio accounts or Dremio software accounts, Druid, Google BigQuery, IBM DB2, Azure Synapse, SQL Server, MongoDB, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, SAP HANA, Snowflake, Vertica. You have lots of options here. So essentially, wherever your data is at, there's going to be a way to bring that data over. And most places nowadays are starting to add like some sort of iceberg option where you can export data in iceberg some way. So as long as you have your data in iceberg, you can always then connect your iceberg catalog and have it accessible here, or you can just use the Dremio catalog to begin with. Okay, so that's one way to add data. There is also sample data that's available. Okay, now if you take a look at the UI, there's sort of 5 sections. There's the home screen, which is this screen right here. Then there's going to be the data explorer screen where you can see your data sets. There'll be the SQL runner where you can actually run SQL statements, prepare and run SQL statements. We'll have a separate video on each of these sections. A jobs panel where you can explore the different jobs that have been running on your account. And you have your settings. Okay, and then technically there's a section here for every user where each individual user can take a look at their individual account settings, which is really only going to be used for one thing, to generate authentication tokens for connecting to external things. Because even though you can write SQL in Dremio, like we have this, again, nice built-in SQL editor, you can interact with Dremio externally through your, if you're programming an application, you can use whatever programming language you'd like. You can use BI tools, any external tool, because Dremio has a JDBC, ODBC, Aeroflight, and REST API interfaces that generally allows any external tool to be able to interact with Dremio and send Dremio SQL. Okay, and then you'll be able to kind of, when you take a look at the SQL here and the SQL path, right now we haven't actually ran any SQL yet in Dremio. You'd be able to see those jobs here and be able to know sort of how that SQL got there. Was it JDBC? Was it ODBC? Was it Aeroflight? Was it using the Dremio MCP server? And then again here in the Dataset Explorer, you'll notice that every project has a catalog. Okay, so this namespaces sections, those are the subsections of your catalog. So each namespace is essentially like a subfolder of your catalog. So you can make as many namespaces as you want in your catalog to help organize data sets. Right off the bat, you're going to have one namespace, which is Dremio samples, which is going to have some sample data that you can work with. So if you want to just start running queries right away, you can go in here and see these tables already ready available to you, like the city bike table, and then I can just run a query. Okay, and then we'll see the results right down here. Okay, and then we see the data right there. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Dremio is that Dremio is constantly optimizing performance. It's what we refer to as autonomous performance. So it's going to be optimizing for individual queries, for sort of different patterns of sort of common parts of tables that are being accessed frequently, optimizing tables. There's a whole sort of lots of layers to this optimization. So you'll notice as you run certain queries over and over again, subsequent times you run them will be a lot faster. Okay, so you see here, now it's like a second. But see, I can see this data, okay, and I can run queries that way. Now again, this particular video is just an introduction to the UI, so we'll spend more time first talking about the Dataset Explorer in the next video, and then we'll spend some more time with the SQL Runner. So I'll see you in the next video.